Hey everybody, this is Tamiya Robles. Welcome, welcome. I am the host of this podcast, Adoption Exposed, the Black Orphans Adopted Foster Child. Welcome, welcome. In case you're wondering, that's me. I'm all of those things. Or was all of those things. I am still black, but orphan adopted foster kid, that's me. So welcome. Before I get into today's episode, I want to remind you guys that I do have a Facebook group page. It's titled the same thing, Adoption Exposed. Be sure to check it out. Be sure to like, share, join, obviously. And I want that group to grow so it gives people like a safe space to talk about some of these issues that or topics that I'm talking about in my episodes, anything you want to share. You guys can even be anonymous within the group if you want. I understand this is a very touchy subject and close to the heart for some. But you never know who you are going to meet, how their stories can impact you, and your stories can impact others. So definitely be sure to check out my Facebook group and join and join. And of course, YouTube, I'm on YouTube as well, amongst other platforms. But let's just jump right into it. So, when I was doing the previous episode, it made me think of this topic, facing adoption fears, moving forward with love. So, this episode is more so for the parents that are considering adoption or who maybe you already adopted and you have some fears, or maybe you are, you took on a child. Maybe you didn't do the actual legal adoption, but it's a it's like a unspoken understanding that, this is your child now and so on and so forth. But you're still moving around like, hey, I got some fears and concerns. And they're legit. They're legit. Um, you are accepting another human being, their mind, their body, their spirit, their soul. That's all your responsibility now. You have to protect them, you have to love them. And you don't know what can come with that. It could be love, it could be hatred. Sometimes it starts off great and then it ends badly. But what can you do about that? Have you thought about that as a parent? Does it matter to you what you could be going through with your child? Any particular baggage that maybe it's not their fault because they're babies or their children, but it's just what comes with them. Let me give you an example, right? So I always say I'm an only child, which I am. My parents I'm their only child, right? They just had me. But when I think I was like 8 years old, my parents decided that they wanted to adopt a boy. I never asked either one of my parents like what were their goals as far as kids were concerned. I don't know why I never asked. I just never really gave a crap. But my parents sat me down one time and were like, listen, you're about to get a baby brother. And I'm like, all right, cool. Excellent. And it was supposed to be like a Christmas gift around Christmas time. I was getting this brother, and I'm telling you, kids don't really care about the details as long as you are positive about things. Like, kids are gonna rock out with you regardless, even if you're not positive. They're very loyal. We don't know better, right? So they were going through some of the processes with me. I think they just wanted me to be a part of that, but I still didn't understand what I was going through. I saw my parents getting fingerprinted. At one point, we were in an office and they were being questioned. I didn't get it, but all I know is around Christmas time, I had a whole bunch of baby um, toys, and they were blue. And then they were putting a crib in my bedroom because I had a really large bedroom at the time. Actually, I had the master bedroom at the time, so it was a pretty large bedroom. It was pretty cool. Then, boom, we got my brother. So my brother was named Lee Ross, and Ross was is my father's middle name. No, Lee. I'm sorry, Lee is my father's middle name. Ross, I don't even know where Ross came from. I don't know. Ross came from somewhere, but his name was Lee or Ross. One of the two. It's so long ago. Ross, Lee Ross, whatever. We'll just call him Ross. And I remember that my mom, doted over him. She loved him. My dad was my dad, just regular shit. Like, yeah, cute kid. Saying we got two now. And my mom just was totally in love with this boy. I was too. She was a great parent. Again, I don't know like what my parents talked about low key in the background, but she told me how to hold my brother. She was very careful. I had to like sit down and hold this little boy, and it was cool. Like I loved it. He cried in the middle of the night. I didn't really care. It just kind of seemed natural. It seemed very natural that I had a baby brother. And when he cried in the middle of the night, my mom would come in, take him, put him to sleep, bring him back. It was just normal. It was normal. It was natural. It was cool. And then all of a sudden, I think it was a couple days later, and mind you, I'm 8 years old. So time with an 8-year-old is way different than reality, right? So freaking, I don't know, one day to an 8-year-old could feel like 20 days. So I think realistically, I think we had him for a couple of days. And then all of a sudden, my mom locked herself in my parents' room and like was crying, and I was like, that's weird, and then my dad told me to go in my room, shut the door. So I'm like, okay, that's weird, whatever. Right. And then so I'm sitting in my room, and being a child, you're curious. I heard like the like a car pull up, our doorbell rang. This lady came into our house. It was this white social worker lady, really nice, decent, professional looking lady. And then I don't know, I heard my mom cry. It got louder and louder. Then oh wow, it's so weird. Is so much time is going on, and this is such a touchy topic for me. Like I don't cry about too much, especially when it comes to adoption. It doesn't affect me, but this topic, for whatever reason, it just really, really gets to me. So just bear with me, y'all. Just bear with me. I don't talk about him often. So I don't know. I listened and followed instructions. I didn't leave out of my room like my dad said, but my mom's cries were just killing me. Like that's how you know that's your mom. That when she cries, it just totally destroys your soul. And that's what it did. And then I heard my front door shut. And because I was in the master bedroom, the way our house was set up, the master bedroom was over top of the front door and it faced the front of the house. So when she shut the door, I just ran to the window, looked out, and I saw my baby brother in the car seat that my parents bought for him for Christmas, right? Because you needed a car seat to bring your kid home. And she took it with him in it, and then she got in the car and drove off. And I was like, that's weird. I didn't understand it, right? So finally my dad came up and said, you can leave your room. But they never explained anything to me. They just like my brother was gone. That's it. It was like a couple of days I had a brother and he was gone. My father was the true peeler that he is, just factual and straightforward, non-emotional. And he was like, he's no longer here. We don't have him anymore. And I'm like, wow. I didn't really ask too many questions. It was just my mom was crying nonstop. I mean, I think that took over everything, right? And she was just devastated. And my mom is the type of mother where and believe it or not, this is actually the anniversary of her death today, which is April 18th, which is crazy. But anyhow, she was crying, and it was just like a deep bellowing sob that came from like the soul, and it was just nonstop. I've never heard anybody cry like this, right? And it was just loud and just and I couldn't sleep. And she did this for 3 days, like 3 days. So finally, after the third day, she came out and like nothing happened. But she had a robe on. My mom wasn't the type to have a robe on. She always came downstairs with her hair done, makeup done, ready for the day, even as a housewife, because she was a housewife at the time. She was going to school, college, then law school, and then, basically a stay-at-home mom. And then at this time she was in, I think she was in college. I don't recall. Either she was about to go to college. No, she didn't go to college at this point. I'm sorry. So she was a stay-at-home mom, wanted another child. And she just came downstairs and just started cooking. That's it. Like her eyes were swollen. And then she looked at me with the teary-eyed, tight-lipped smile, and then just went to cooking like nothing happened. And I'm like, is anybody going to explain to me what happened? Like, what's up? Well, what happened? She told me, and she was like, they took your brother. And she was just like, I'm really sorry. And she was sobbing for 3 days because they took her child, they took her son. What happened was the biological mother was a young mom, and she did not want the baby. So she put the baby up for adoption. So keep in mind, this is New Jersey and this is the 80s. Okay. It was like mid 80s when the adoption went through. However, the biological father found out that his son was put up for adoption without his consent. And he found out and, I don't know, tracked the agency down and demanded his child. And that's what happened. They had no choice. They had to give the baby back to the biological parent. So yeah, so my mom was really distraught, and then that messed me up because I'm like, wow, they're going to take me away too. And I'm telling my mom, like, if they could just all willy-nilly just take kids. I mean, because again, I'm 8. Like, if they could just come to your house and take your kid away from you, oh my God, what are we gonna do? We have to do something about this, right? So I told my mom, like, well, they're gonna get me too? And she was like, over my dead body. Like, they gotta kill me before they even think of touching you. Like, I was like, okay, it's serious or whatever. Um, so that was just crazy. I don't remember my father having much of emotion. Like I said, sometimes we're like wasps, you know what I'm saying? But my mom, it destroyed her. And she, like, even though I told you guys in past episodes, my mom and I had a horrible relationship, mother-daughter relationship. It was emotionally abusive, physically abusive, psychologically abusive. Um, but there were some positive spots there. I think I'm confident it had nothing to do with adoption. It was just a mother-daughter dislike, you know what I mean? And I was a daddy's girl, so on. We could talk about that another episode. But it wasn't all horrific, but when it wasn't horrific, it was loving. And my mom was the type of person, as long as you get along with her, everything's fine. I'm saying, if you agree with her, your life is great. And I wasn't one of them people. She raised me not to be like that. So I just don't agree with her. If I don't agree, I don't agree. And I'm going to speak up, even when it came to her. But this situation like brought us close together, especially at this point. And I'm like, man, like, you're saying they just stole my brother? Like, this is fucking bullshit. This is wild. And I didn't know how to address it. I didn't know where to put that emotion. But this is a family. We're a real life family. This is not fake. This is not a substitute for anything. I don't care if we had the brother for 1 minute or 100 years. The moment that you adopt a child, that's yours. The moment you accept that child as your child, that's your child. And you have to take full responsibility, the good, bad, the ugly, the heartbreaks, the love. Everything is not sunshine, roses, kittens, and gumdrops falling from the sky. It's not it. It comes with some shit sometimes. And can you handle that? Is that something that you as a parent can handle? Have you thought about these things? What if you were in that situation? What if someone had to legally take their kid because they had every right to, right? And I'm not saying that happens, because now that it's 2024, there's been so many laws passed to prevent that from happening, and that shouldn't happen at all. I believe I was watching a documentary years ago where this woman, they were going through the whole adoption process where this woman was pregnant and she, got drunk one day at a party, met up with some guy, got pregnant, and was like, I don't want this kid. I'm young. I still want to, live my best life. And um the she went through the adoption process because she was going to give her baby up at birth, but it was like they asked her a whole lot of questions. She had to, take a therapy class. Like, are you sure you want to give up your kid? And once you give birth, do you want to hold the kid or do you want it to go straight to the parent? There's a reason for all of that. There's a reason for all of that. And I respect that process now. I think any biological parent that decides that they're going to give birth and hold the child close to them before they turn the child over to the biological parent, I think that is an early sign that you may potentially try to get your kid back. I mean, every state is different. Check your state laws, especially if you're considering adoption, on how this process works, because this can be devastating for the whole family if all the right steps are not taken, and they can potentially the government can step in, the agency can step back in and take the child. But this woman, she was like, no, I'm not going to hold the child. I don't want to look at the child because that's the option. They take it step by step. Do you want to hold it? Do you want to hear it? Do you want to touch it? Do you want to smell it? Whatever. And she was like, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to hold it. Now, she signed papers and all of that. How come the moment she gave birth, she was like, I want to hold it, right? I want to hold it. I was like, oh my God. And mind you, they already found actual parents for the baby. They were waiting in the waiting room, waiting for their child to be handed over to them. And here goes this fucking bitch. She's like, oh, I want to hold it now. I want to hold it a little longer. And you could just see what was happening. And as time went on, she was like, okay, they were like, listen, you have 5 minutes because we have to give this baby to her parents that are in the fucking waiting room. You sign these papers, ma'am, whatever. So she's crying over the baby. I mean, if you have a problem with the fact of how harsh I'm speaking against her, just get off, because like I said, unless you're an adoptee, you really don't know and have really no say so. You should have no opinion on how I feel, right? But as an adoptee who knows what happened after I was born, I feel some type of way about something like that. If you're going to give up your child and you went through these processes and you decided, yes, I'm giving my child up in this mannerism, and these are their new parents, blah, 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 you have to stick to that, because this is not a game. You're playing with people's lives, the parents' lives, the baby's lives. Fuck your life. Fuck your life. If you are deciding that this is what you're going to do, it's supposed to be for the best interest of the child, right? Okay, so why would you sign a contract, have an agreement, and then basically renege on it as it's happening? And if you want to counter that with, oh, well, Tamiya, giving birth, it's emotional and it's hormonal, and I get it. I get it. But what is the bigger picture? Your child, the actual child, your biological child, and those parents that are waiting anxiously for their child to be handed over to them so they can start their new life and love this child up the way it needs to be loved. Right? So ultimately, what happened is the woman's 5 minutes were up, and they had to take the baby from her, right? The newborn baby. And she's crying even more. Then the parents were nervous because they knew per the contract that the moment the baby was born, that they were going to take the baby, wash it up, and then give it to them, right? Because the cameras were there and everything. They agreed to all of that. So they wanted that moment recorded too, because this is the day of the birth of their child. So they wanted everything recorded, and they were under a contract and like an agreement, and they thought it was just going to go smoothly, right? But it never does. And nothing goes smoothly in life. So they kept checking in through this, and they were getting nervous, like, is the baby okay? Can we see it? Mind you, this is years ago, because I think now they allow, I could be wrong, but they allow the parents, the new parents, to be in the delivery room while their child is being born, and then they clean the baby up and instantly it goes with their parents, if I'm not mistaken. And again, every state is different. So the hospital was not allowed, nor that was the agency allowed, to update the parent and tell them what the birth mother was doing. They just had to say, like, there's a bit of a dilemma. Don't worry, we'll keep you posted. Like, that's all they could say. So the parents are freaking out. Like, is it breathing? Is the quarter like they're not thinking anything? Did she change her mind? Like, what is going on? They're devastated. The mom's crying. The dad's holding the mom. He's freaked out. Whatever. They go back, and the woman, they took the baby, and then finally they delivered the baby to the parents. The woman is crying, right? The birth mother. And she's like, I want the baby. Oh my God. Da, da, da. But whatever state she was in, she had like 14 days to make a decision, for it to be final, even after you give birth and the adoptive parents have them, right? So she was crying, like, oh, da, da, I think I made a mistake. So they kept telling her, like, calm down, like, your hormones are fucked up right now, your emotions are everywhere. Just sleep on it, give it a couple of days, and then make a decision, right? So the parents have the baby, they're new parents now, whatever. Don't you know, this heifer decided she wanted to change her mind. So she changed her mind, and the parents had to give the baby back to the birth mom, the same woman who made it clear through the whole pregnancy that she did not want this baby, right? So come to find out, the woman wanted the baby back because she connected to the biological father. I don't even know how she found this dude. She was at some party and got drunk and got pregnant. And she was told the guy, like, I had this baby. He didn't give a shit, right? But she thought she could make a family with this guy. He didn't want her or the baby. Signed over his right. He was totally okay with the adoption. Like, fuck that, right? And then she was like, oh, being a parent is so hard. This is not what I thought it would be. And then the baby was returned back to its parents. What the entire fuck? Right? That's a lot. That's devastating. Again, I'm not saying this to freak anybody out, but the reality is these things can happen. You are a parent. You marry your wife, your significant other, your girlfriend, you're with your girlfriend, whatever, right? They have children. You love and respect them children, and you accept the children as yours. Those are your children. That's you right there. Okay. You got a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 5-year-old. That's all you right there. That's the unspoken or spoken agreement. Your dad, they look at you as dad. It's fine. Whatever. Their actual dad is not in the picture. Boom. What if the biological father decides to come back into the picture? Like, what then? How do you feel? Like, what type of moves? Is that a concern for you? Is that a concern? How do you move in these type of situations? How do you function in these types of situations? With me personally, it was devastating. It's to this day, I'm 45 years old, and talking about my situation still hurts me to this day. Like, I say I was an only child, but I had a brother. And I say I had a brother for about 3 days. But that was my little brother. I know that it has always affected my mom over the years, because being an only child, I used to sneak through their clothes and their drawers when they were gone, and I would look through like my mom's like personal stuff, and I used to see pictures. She had like pictures of the baby, of my brother, like buried in her drawer somewhere. I saw clothes of his, a blanket. One of the things, and this was like when she's in her 40s and her 50s, like she kept this until her dying day. And then another situation is when my brother, when they took my brother, they refused to take the crib down. Like that crib was in my room, I think, for most of a year. And I used to smell his blanket. He had like a little throw up spot. And I used to smell his blanket all the time. To this day, I still remember what he smells like. You know, these are things that you have to consider, that you have to think about. And if you are considering an adoption or you are already an adoptive parent, there's still that fear in the back of your mind. Will they truly see me as a parent or not? Will they um hate me? Right? And if they do dislike you, what then? Is it because you're not their biological? Like, you think of all these things too. um will they turn on me? Will they love me and accept me, but not truly see me as a parent? Are they forever searching for their biological? What if their biological comes around? That's a thing too. That's a thing too. Like, I remember Shaquille O'Neal, he talks about his biological father coming back into the picture after he became famous, I do believe. And he was like, man, fuck that. Like, my dad's right here. So what I have to say to a lot of that is, anyone that does have fears and is concerned, don't be. Kids are going to be kids, period. We turn out however we turn out. And sometimes it just really doesn't have anything to do with being adopted. It's just almost another avenue, another way of saying, this is why I'm behaving the way I'm acting and behaving. Um, Sometimes there are adoption issues, but it's a lot of it's like out of curiosity and just understanding why they were adopted. And one of the things that my mom used to say, because she was always jealous of my relationship with my father and she was a stay-at-home mom, and she looked at it like, listen, I'm home with you all the time. I taught you how to read and write before you got into kindergarten, and I'm putting all this into you, but you're so attached to your father, but your father's like barely home. He's working all the time. You see him on the weekend, but you see me every day, all day, right? But one of the things she used to say was a a kid is always connected to the absentee parent. The absentee parent is always glorified. And I can agree, whether the absentee parent is good or bad, they always fantasize over the absentee parent or the parent that is not around like that or doesn't even contribute that much. And I can actually say the same for my daughter. My oldest, her biological father is not in the picture, and when she was 3 months old, I had a boyfriend, and that's who she identified as her father to this day. She's almost 18, and she knows he's a deadbeat. I don't say that, but she's aware. But he only identifies her as his daughter, and she only identifies him as her father. But it's just, they have this like connection. I actually lost my train of thought right there. I had a good point. So thanks for walking out. But anyway, I had a good point with that. But yeah, so they have like a really good connection or whatever, and he identifies her as his daughter. But when I had my his okay, so then I have my second daughter like 6 years later. That was his biological child, right? For some reason, he was more connected with. Oh, I know where I'm going with this. Okay, thank you for rocking out. He was more connected with the firstborn than the second child, right? So my youngest child, it doesn't matter. She doesn't care about him. She doesn't know who he is. He's just irrelevant to her, and she's very fine with that. She's very content. It's very strange. But my oldest praises and always praises her dad, even though he wasn't like really like I call him holiday birthday dad. He's one of them. Like, he talks about her all the time as if he's present in her life. He reaches out to her on her birthday, his birthday, even the holidays. But she used to always glorify this man, like, daddy's great, daddy's amazing. And when he would come over and visit the girls, soon as he walked in, it was just like Santa Claus just walked in or a celebrity just walked in. And I'm like, what? Now, the baby never cared about his existence. She would just be like, okay, whatever. I mean, but my oldest was just so amazing. I'm like, wow, wow, like he's around, but like Jesus, I'm here all the time. You know what I mean? So I was kind of feeling like my mom. But it can be like that with adopted kids. It can be like that when you accept another person's child, even with an unofficial adoption. And you have to be able to be open minded to it, understand to the best of your ability the mentality of your child. And especially if they know they're adopted or they know you're not their biological, but just keep loving them up regardless. They will get the picture, they will get it at some point, whether they're teenagers, whether they don't give a shit either way, whether they're kicking and bucking and being defiant with you, and then it hits them in their 20s or 30s like, oh my god, you're an amazing parent, I'm so sorry I was a dick. Okay, so you get that with non-adoptive kids anyway, and you get it with adoptive kids. So don't, still be a parent, still be the best at what you do. Hopefully you do not have one of those situations that I described where, you're adopting a child at birth, you're at the delivery room or in the delivery room, and they make these last minute decisions. Even if that happens, you can still recognize that child as your child. Okay, that's you right there, period, point blank. That's you. And you want to have an open heart for that child. You never know what can happen. Just like in the story I just told you, the woman took the baby back after a couple of days and then returned the child. I mean, all of this is happening within a week and a half. You know what I mean? So, which is horrible because I'm sure the parents had this whole plan of how they were going to raise their baby, and the first part of the life is really important, and you want to do the skin to skin contact as soon as possible with the parent, and like, I'm sure you guys have amazing, wonderful plans for your babies, but just understand, yes, there are other sides to this adoption thing, but don't be so fearful. You guys are amazing. You're amazing that you're adoptive parents. You're amazing to take on other people's kids. You are the heroes. You are the superheroes. And being a superhero, it comes with a little hurt and a little pain. It does. You know that. You know that as individuals, and that's more than likely what triggered you to be an adoptive parent. You have thick skin. You can handle the storms. You have a loving big heart, and you can protect this child and love this child and provide for this child better than anyone else, right? But guess what? It's gonna come. They're gonna call you an asshole. They're gonna be like, "You're not my mom. You're not my dad." Yeah, just take it and be like, "Word, you done? All right. Anyway, take your ass upstairs." You know what I'm saying? Have a little time out. Like, just still keep parenting. Hopefully you guys don't experience any of that fuck shit with the newborns, or they're trying to take the parents or whatever, whatever. Like, just weather that storm, still have that open door for that family. They were put up for adoption for a reason. For a reason. Okay, still have other children even if that happens. Don't feel guilty. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't be so fearful and hesitant. Life be life, and as the kids say, and we gotta chuck forward. We gotta move forward. You understand? So just continue to try to overcome your fears with love. Love, 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 love. Okay. Again, you guys are amazing. Thank you for being adoptive parents. Thank you for being the parent that is the parent for the blended family, the unofficial adopted parents. You guys get the same amount of love and respect as well. What I would say though, at some point, just make it official just for legal purposes. But, I know that doesn't always happen. But if you want the best protection for you and your family, just make it legal. And if the kid is old enough, you guys can have a conversation about it, get their opinion on it too, their input. But even if they don't want to do it or whatever, just continue to love. That's all. Love. They will always come around. Okay. Hopefully this helps for some of y'all. Hopefully this was helpful. But be sure again to like, comment, download, subscribe, all that good stuff. Please join my Facebook group so we can talk about it. Leave comments on my YouTube so we can talk about it. All right. In the meantime, I will talk to you guys later. You have a good one. Bye bye.